In the past 6 years, I intentionally observed what were the factors that were most influential in determining how far a young person reached for in life. What were the factors that determined how ambitious they ended up being as a person? And interestingly, I found a number of factors: how strong their support system was, how exposed they were, how hardworking they were. Among all these, I found one particularly interesting aspect that is, to me, arguably the most influential factor, the factor that is most deterministic when it comes to how far a young person is going to reach for in life. So in this video, I am going to be talking to you about the factor that I think is the most deterministic when it comes to how far a young person ends up reaching for in life, how ambitious they end up becoming, despite their background, despite their circumstances, despite their financial situation. There is this one common factor that cuts across people from different demographics, and that usually ends up influencing how far they reach for in life. Now, I have been identified by a few people as resilient and far-reaching, ambitious, but I must admit with you that this is something that I struggle with, and it is something that it is for that reason that I went on studying, observing to see how present this effect was in the lives of other young people around me. And interestingly, it turned out to be one of the most influential factors that determines how far young people actually reach for in life. It is very interesting to see the power that one little aspect has over how much people go out to live their full potential. You may think it is a very obvious, a really present, easy to identify aspect, but on the contrary, it is rather subtle and somehow very impactful, somehow very influential in the lives of so many young people. Okay, so what determines how unafraid, how ambitious, how fearless, how far-reaching a young person grows up to actually be in life? 8 out of 10 people will state fear of judgment from other people as the reason why they didn't go ahead and do the things that they wanted to do. At least many of the things that they wanted to do. But there is a particular kind of judgment, a special kind of judgment that causes much more harm than the other kinds of judgment. And that is the type of judgment that we are going to be talking about. This special kind of judgment is a judgment that comes from the people who know you. The ones who know your genealogy, the ones who know about your failed relationship, the ones who know about your failed attempt at a business, the ones who know about your struggles in school, the ones who have known you, who have known the things that you have failed at, your minor failures. They may not be anything too major, they may not be anything too serious, but there are things that you are self-aware about. You know, most of the times we are self-aware about things that are not necessarily horrible or catastrophic, but we are very self-aware about those things. And majority of other people may not necessarily remember that these things happened to us, or that we went through these things, or they may not even attribute these things to us when they think about us. But for some reason, we're usually very self-aware of these things. So in addition to their whispers and mild comments, you start hearing whispers in your own head as well. Okay, so it leaves from them suggesting things which are usually very mild suggestions. They are not actively attacking you, but they just plant these thoughts into your head and then let the thoughts do their work. Okay, so in addition to their mild suggestions and their comments, you start hearing these other whispers in your head that question you over and over again, question you so many times that the ideas that you have in your head never really make it out. You never even attempt to manifest them in reality because you have questioned yourself, you have evaluated yourself, and you have deemed yourself unworthy before even going out to make an attempt at manifesting these things. And it's not like you are running crazy or that you are necessarily a psychologically weak person, but there are people around you who are helping this situation deteriorate. And you have to identify these patterns. You have to identify these people to be able to handle this situation, lest you risk not living even up to 1/4 of your potentials, because a lot of things that you imagine die in your head. You criticize yourself, you analyze yourself, you scrutinize yourself so much, and you deem yourself unworthy before you even go out to make an attempt at realizing the things that you imagine that you could realize. So most of the times these comments are very mild and they don't in themselves seem like they are doing anything, but they usually are doing a lot of damage to your person. So you would hear something like, oh, so you're starting a YouTube channel. Have you got a studio, or you just film videos from your room? And then suddenly your idea of starting a YouTube channel starts being scrutinized in your head. Your person, your entire being starts being scrutinized in your head. Meanwhile, the funny thing is that these same people would very comfortably subscribe to a YouTube channel that is being run from another person's room, as long as they are a stranger, as long as they do not know the person's weaknesses, or they do not know the minor things in which that are not so perfect about the person's life. They would do it. They would comfortably give a stranger that vote of confidence, but they wouldn't give you that vote of confidence. And the fear of these kinds of judgments get to you so much so that you fear to go out and manifest most of the things that you think about. And you give yourself this limitation. It all happens in your head. So they plant the seed and let the seed grow in your head. And you start giving yourself this limitation. You start telling yourself, oh, this type of things are not for people like me. This type of things are not meant for people coming from the places where I come from. These types of things are not meant for people that survived the situations that I survived. So you immediately stop trying to manifest those things. When the ideas come to your mind, you just shrink, you just panic. It's like total chaos in your mind. You think of all these things that have been planted in your head, and you panic, you shiver, and for some reason you give up on the idea. The idea never sees reality, because somebody planted a seed and allowed the seed to grow and blossom in your head, and the seed is now doing the negative work that it was planted to do in the first place. And the people might not necessarily think about this. They might not analyze the whole situation. They can't help themselves. But for some reason, they have just vowed that they would be unimpressed no matter what you do. It's not that what you do is unimpressive. It's just they are just unimpressed by the person. They have decided to be unimpressed by the person. So no matter what you do, no matter what you achieve, they decide to be unimpressed. They are never ever going to be impressed. As long as it is done by you, it doesn't impress them. And there will always be people like that around us. So it's very similar to the saying in the Bible, can anything good come out of Nazareth? So you see, a prophet is never really honored in their own hometown. So it's the people that know you that plant these seeds of doubt. It's the people that know you that know you well, that are very less likely to respect anything that you go out to achieve. Now that is besides the point. Now our interest in this video is, how do you handle these things? How do you put aside these things? Because they will always exist. How do you survive? How do you still go through things like this and still go out and reach for things higher than the sky itself? You still go out and reach for things that are way bigger than you. Reach for things even when the physical evidence that you are able to do them are not there. What gives you that confidence? What gives you that hope? Why are you so hopeful? What makes you think that you can live from this place and aim for that place, despite everything that has happened and everybody that has witnessed it and everybody that is judging it and scrutinizing it? So the first thing that we are going to do is identify these people. So you need to observe around you and identify these people, the people that are never impressed no matter what it is that you do. In fact, they would rather downplay that thing that you achieve than accept that it is impressive because you have done it. Okay? So if you go ahead and achieve something really, really impressive, they would rather downplay how impressive that thing is, just so that they don't have to admit that you did something impressive. So when you identify these people and you start observing, I particularly love that part. You observe them, and then when you observe them, ensure to have fun while you observe them. So you do these impressive things, and then they are totally, permanently unimpressed. And you observe, you identify them, you observe, and make sure you have a fun time while observing them. I love that. Like, that is something that is very particular to me. Whenever I have identified such a person in my life, I observe them, and I make sure that I have a really, really nice time observing them do it, like acting unimpressed, and then I just laugh. Like, I'm so entertained by people like this. Now, after you've identified these people, go on and do the things that challenge these stereotypes, and do it while being confident, while being happy, while being humble. Like, be humble in great achievements. Make sure that you achieve it. Make sure that you have a fun time while achieving it, and make sure that you stay humble while achieving it. Why do I stress on staying humble? First, you need to understand that they are the people struggling. You are not the one struggling. They are the ones with the problem. You are not the one with the problem. And you identify as a confident, happy person. You identify as a person who remains hopeful despite whatever has happened. You identify as a person who knows that they have a place in life, they have a place on earth, and they have a purpose, and they have a part to play, and they have to go on and play that part despite what other people think. Why is it important that you remain humble while you do all these things? Not really because we want to project ourselves as the most righteous people. That is not the point, because there is this trap of destroying ourselves or losing a part of ourselves while we try to challenge these stereotypes. I don't know if you've ever come across a high achieving person with a totally nasty attitude. They are high achieving, and then they just act like a loser. So they have a nasty attitude. They treat other people like trash. They have grown with a chip on their shoulder. It's like their whole life, it's like people really got to them and made them almost believe that they were never going to amount to anything. And finally, when they did amount to something, they became this very annoying person. They became this very disrespectful person who disregards every other human being, and they lost that beautiful aspect of their personality. So that is not what we want to do. We want to categorically avoid becoming this type of a person. So yes, we can challenge the stereotypes. We can go ahead and become the best of ourselves and still keep a positive, a respectful, a noble attitude while we do it. No need. The point is that there is really no need to do this and then end up with unresolved trauma. It's totally not worth it. Like, have you seen a surgeon, a highly respected surgeon who treats maybe nurses like trash? Or a professor who treats his students like they are nothing? It speaks trauma. Like, what did you go through? You have started introducing yourself by the trauma with which another person inflicted on you. We don't have to do that. When you identify that this is a possibility earlier, you do not go down that path. So in trying to challenge the stereotypes, make sure that you do not end up being a person who feels a need to traumatize other people, who feels a need to work on other people before feeling that they have actually done something, they have done well for themselves in life. No, you don't need to do that. So while challenging the stereotypes, it is important to identify yourself as a happy person. You are not the one with the problem. They are the ones with the problem. You're a confident person. You are high achieving in humility. You're a noble person. You're a respectful person. You have control over your life. It is very important not to lose control. Okay, so if you've watched up to this point, I want to believe that you identified one or two people who are naysayers in this way in your life. And unfortunately, they are not strangers. They will never be strangers. They are people that are actually close to us, family members, classmates, friends, just people that are close to us in one way or the other, but that have this negative effect on our lives. And I hope that watching this video is going to help you to go out and do that thing that you've been scared of doing. Like, what's the worst that could happen? You'll do it, and then you take back control. That's simply what I'm saying. Take control from that person and go out there and do your thing. If I'm doing anything today, it's not because I don't have people who know not so fancy aspects of my life, or people who have refused to be impressed by anything that I do. It is simply because I have learned to overcome that and take control, and I know full well who I am and what I identify as what I am and what I am not. And as such, I can go out and aim for anything that I want to aim, because I believe that I have a place in the world and I have a part to play, and I can live my life actively and be actively present in this world. So yes, thank you for watching right until this point. For the record, I am Dinta, and in this channel, I share lessons that I learned during my early adulthood years. So if you're struggling with the chaos of early adulthood, you're overwhelmed by a lot of things around career, around relationships, around business, then this is a space for you. Make sure to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and until next time, see ya.